one of the things that I wanted to ask you guys as it related to beef and what's been happening here with JJ Redick and Austin Rivers and JJ Redick went after Doc Rivers. Now, Austin Rivers and Doc Rivers have a strained relationship. So I'm listening to JJ Redick, and I hope he can bring this. I don't know if he can. I don't know if there's the space for it, but he is a transcendent basketball talker. JJ Redick has a way of getting on First Take, and his analysis and information are so thorough, researched, and prepared, and his knowledge of the game is so substantive that he can wipe the floor with your points if you are not solid and speaking beyond cliches about your basketball analysis. Now, he is joining Mike Breen and Doris Burke as part of their broadcast, and you don't hear this very often. This is JJ Redick going after Doc Rivers because Doc Rivers was making a whole bunch of excuses at the All-Star game.
I've seen the trend for years.
What's the trend?
The trend is always making excuses. Doc, we get it. Taking over a team in the middle of the season is hard. It's hard. We get it. Just like getting traded in the middle of the season is hard for a player. We get it. Mm-hmm. But it's always an excuse. It's always throwing your team under the bus. They lose to Memphis. Oh, it's his players' fault. Memphis was playing G League guys and two-way guys. And then you look at his quotes over the weekend. Now he wants to take credit for the James Harden trade to the Clippers working out. He wants credit for that. There's never accountability with that guy.
I mean, legitimately pissed, and you heard the pen thrown.
That was a spike.
He snapped it. He was a Clipper while Doc was the coach there, right? So maybe he got thrown under the bus by Doc when he was playing there, right?
It does feel personal. Like, I think as we're about to hear from Austin Rivers, his best seasons were under Doc.
Well, but hold on a second. So Patrick Beverley comes back at JJ Redick by saying this is wrong to retire and then do this on air when he saved your career. And JJ Redick's response to saved my career, first he says, Pat, my guy.
My guy.
You have to throw that in there. You have to throw that in there.
Pat, my guy. There's not menace.
That's bringing him in close.
Yeah,
like, hey, you're my guy here. I want to tell you something here. I got news for you. No one's listening, just me and you here.
Okay, you say Pat, my guy, as if it's not menacing.
It couldn't be more condescending.
I mean, because he says save my career, FOH. So it can't be Pat, my guy, fuck out of here.
Oh, you know what it meant. We were just back here. Does Dan know what that means?
It can't be. It cannot be FOH. And then JJ Redick says as well, I had a 4-year contract to be a starter with my option. Like, he gave the contract details, same amount of money, 4-year starter, 4-year contract. I was going to be a starter. And he's like, Doc Rivers did not save my career. But here again, Austin Rivers, who doesn't have a great relationship with his dad, is now coming after JJ Redick too.
First off, I don't feel responsible to take up for my dad. He's a grown man. He could do his own thing. But in this regard, I just simply don't agree with it. For someone who's not accountable, he seems to always be held responsible, considering he's the guy that's always fired when things don't go right. He got fired in the bubble for a 3-1 lead versus the Denver Nuggets, which in half his team didn't want to be there. They had players saying that their mind wasn't there. He had guys leave. That happened. Then he gets fired for losing to a team that was favored over him, which was the Celtics last year. It seems like he's always responsible. It's just as strange coming from JJ. And I have some love for JJ. You're my dookie. You know that. You're my bro. I love you. It's just your best years were with the Clippers. I don't think he saved your career. I appreciate you, Pat. But I don't think it – I mean, this just seems a little bit weird. They're 3-7. Dame has missed most of those games. Middleton's missed a lot of those games. They haven't even had their full team yet. We'll see what happens. The pressure is there. They do have to perform. But in terms of accountability, like, what are we doing here? Your best years in the NBA were when you played for him in the Clippers. Let's not – forget that. I don't know if there's like frustration there or there's tension there between you. I know a lot of times we had to sit you towards the end of the game due to defensive reasons, but you had your best years as a starter there, especially our whole system was drafted around you because you're a shooter. You're not a guy who could put the ball on the floor. You were a strictly shoot guy. You're not like Klay Thompson or Steph who could put the ball on the floor. You were a guy who could catch and shoot, and you did it at a high level. Hell of a career, by the way. Big fan. But your best years were under him. It's just very ironic and kind of weird that you have this energy towards him in terms of him never, ever being accountable, considering he's always been responsible.
I mean, just textbook right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's good.
textbook in insulting him while complimenting him, insulting him while saying, I'm not insulting you, while insulting him.
I feel like the fact that he didn't have to throw a pen also, like, you have to give him. Now, I've seen the back and forth since this, and I truly don't know whose side to take. I'm waiting for Amin to tell me later on. But I think the fact that he delivered it without throwing the pen really is a notch in his column.
Yeah, but you got to look at where he did it, right? JJ Redick was on First Take. You know you have to elevate for First Take. You got Shannon on one side, you got Stephen A on the other side. You got to be that energy. I don't even know where Austin Rivers did this. Was it on like the
NBA
show?
Today,
NBA
like their
Today? So
daily show.
A bit of a more chill atmosphere that he can kind of have more room to roam. But Stephen A, Shannon, you got to bring the energy.
But there was great shade in there. Didn't play at the end of games.
We had to sit you.
Couldn't handle the ball. That's right. Me and my father had to sit you during games when you couldn't be trusted to protect a 3-1
Love
lead.
you, though. You're a Duke guy.
Love you, but it doesn't sound like it. You couldn't dribble. It is tremendous. I side with JJ Redick. And I do understand the point that Austin Rivers is making when he says, what do you mean accountable? He keeps getting fired. Like it's the
We
max.
do blame him for a lot.
But yes, but he is so good at charming his way through the excuses on why it's not his fault.
Especially this last week or so, he's been cranking out the excuse machine.
Oh, but he goes to the All-Star game and he's like, I started 3-6. And what does he immediately say? I told him to start me after the All-Star game. It's a tough road trip. It's like, what? What are you doing?
Has he by chance ever sold a book that he hasn't written yet?
A book that's still unwritten.
Seems like we're making some comparisons here that are bringing me back to that first conversation we had.
Austin Rivers works hard. In no way was his career saved by Doc Rivers.
Stugotz, I am told, Chris, where are we on this? Taylor.
That was a crazy thing Taylor just
Taylor just told me he wants to do weekend observations from Colorado.
What? And I haven't spoken to him all week. Like, I don't know.